Okay, so it looks like we're recording now. All right. So thanks you guys for coming on the call. This is the second video call we're recording for our partners. And we're just going to go over kind of all the pieces that have been posted on the Google group and the landing page in general. Hear from Miles at Google Cloud Commerce and talk about what is the most appropriate usage of the Data 360 and Google Marketplace. And then if you have any questions, if you're here today or you're watching the recording, feel free to message us at support@data360.solutions. So just to kind of start here, we have Miles on the line. Miles, if you want to introduce yourself again.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Hi, everybody. I'm Miles Betro. I'm a solutions architect at Google on the Google Cloud Commerce team. And I work a lot with our strategic customers and partners and try to take the capabilities that we have within the commerce platform and really apply them to different kinds of partner ecosystem and use cases. So I've been working a lot with Marie and Data 360 over the past few months, helping to define this ecosystem push. And I'm the chief point of contact for different kinds of technical or product questions during the implementation process.
Great, thank you. And Aaron is here from Insperity, who's one of the partners who's joined us in the marketplace. And Aaron, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about what Insperity is and what inspired you to join the marketplace.
Sure. So my name is Aaron Haley. I work with Insperity. I'm a business performance advisor for them. There's kind of a label for our industry, but essentially what we do is kind of everything for a business as it relates to their human capital strategy. So from the transactional pieces, payroll, insurance, taxes, compliance regulations, employee medical benefits, to, obviously the actual like HR consulting and kind of training and development, performance training. We're called a professional employer organization, PEO. Insperity kind of started the industry back in '86. So they've been around for a long time, but not a lot of companies out there know kind of the power of what a PEO can do. I just was really curious. It's kind of a needle in a haystack sometimes to find the right fit. Companies kind of, if they are looking to scale and they want to obviously remain profitable and kind of get the right people on their team and keep them and kind of develop and scale out, PEOs can be kind of a powerful engine for that. And it may be a short-term or a long-term solution, but it can help kind of get them there faster. So I'm super interested to obviously connect with just businesses that are kind of looking for something that could help them do that.
It's awesome. Thank you. I'm Marie. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Data 360. I write all of the specifications and product implementations for our AI and machine learning platform that focuses on customer acquisition and employee acquisition. And our main value is that we reduce the cost of acquiring customers and employees by up to 90%. And that's thanks to all the new things that are out there, those big words you've heard like big data and artificial intelligence and machine learning. We use a custom modeling system that is like an eHarmony for business. So we provide the perfect matches for your listing, your product listings, or in the custom campaigns, any initiative you have with audience members that match that initiative. And so we primarily compete with other ABMs or sales enablement systems or lead gen systems. We're sort of the modern approach to all of those things. So instead of you investing in huge ABM systems or lead gen systems or ERPs, this is a potential alternative or even a supplement to your current investment so that you can develop a lot of efficiency and not spend so much time hunting and spend more time nurturing. So That's why we joined. So just to get a little bit into the marketplace, I know that most of you have received a copy or a link to the marketplace website. And so I'm going to share that now. Let's see. Here we are. Okay. You guys can see my screen, okay?
Yep, I can see it.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So our first marketplace is really about helping businesses sell and automatically provide procurement to customers for marketing, sales, and HR. We have an initial community of 50,000 users. We are, over the next 12 months, growing to about 3 million users. So we're really excited about this marketplace because it provides an aggregation that's just not available anywhere else for marketing, sales, and HR products, services, software, and educational materials and experts. We're also providing other deals and solutions that are ancillary to those offerings. So we have some office space products, we have books and learning materials, and we have educational materials that really help create a one-stop shop for any marketing, sales, or HR practitioner to go there. So we're just beyond excited about providing this. We just found that as we talked to customers, they really didn't know where they could really make clear decisions about marketing and sales and HR. They kind of went either anecdotally or by their own experiences, and there's a lot of winging it out there. So we wanted to make sure to share kind of the power of our system with a full, complete ecosystem. And so we connected with the Google team, and we've been so excited to meet the Orbiterra team and the Google Cloud Commerce team to help present actually a format that a lot of business owners can take advantage of that sell to other businesses. And so we are providing this marketplace opportunity for an initial 20 or so businesses, plus some offerings from Google and Amazon. And we are looking to create almost like an Amazon for business, for lack of a better analogy, where you list your products and then we help you find the right customers. And so just to go into a little bit about how that works, we have on the Google group that you have been invited to a basic acquisition overview and demonstration of how we acquire customers. So this just kind of gives you an idea of one of our data stores that we have. So in this case, we're showing a demo of about 21,886 contacts that are aggregated across Data 360's platform that were acquired from different systems. So some people are from Facebook, some people from email, some people from Twitter. So if you contact Data 360 or you have a conversation with one of us, you're actually in our data store, and then we provide offers to you, of course, with your permission. So with our data store, we have up to 75 levels of matching and validation that we conduct to make sure that your contact source is actually valid and it matches to your specific requirements. So, machine learning, an AI-based system, at least, okay, there we go. It's moving too fast and I'm reacting. Okay. So we have up to 75 levels of matching. And so with those, we have different kinds of signals, if you will, that we aggregate and understand to create what is called a match. Right. So in that analogy, if you think about eHarmony for business, right, that's eHarmony's one of their biggest validations is hey, we got married and it's great, and that sort of stuff. So in our case, what we're looking for is all of the indicators that this is the right person to talk to for a transaction related to your offer. So there's different, so unlike matching personality characteristics, and most of our matching does not involve personality. It actually involves more about whether they are or are not a buyer. And that's slightly different than maybe other systems that focus on decision makers or hierarchies or sentiment analysis or brand awareness or lots of different things. So a lot of people, what we call, they kind of shortcut AI, and it's more about data analysis and data insights than it is specifically about artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is called deep learning. Um, so that's the reason why we use the 75 levels. Is we're looking at, a lot of people know you can look at social media and find different things, but social media is actually just one equation. It represents about 47, 48 different systems that we can pull up, but it's just one level of matching and validation. We also company data. We look at who the person is and kind of, where they're coming from, prior positions and current positions. So we look at company name, we look at title, we look at the location they're at, and then we also look at that in relationship to their social media, kind of what patterns they show in their social media. So, for example, with Christine, she's with Cosmetic Designs, and that particular company has 5 employees. They're medical fashion, and they are focused specifically in Walnut Creek, and they provide fashion for unattractive medical boots. When we look at, is that the right company? The Aaron's threshold is right. 5 employees, right, Aaron?
Yeah, exactly 5.
Yeah. So Christine, who's a community, will be a good match for Aaron. Right. And we know that because one of the primary features is Aaron can handle companies with 5 employees. Right. Um, and then we can say, hey, all of the companies that we have a background information on, we have that information about every business, we can start to scrub and clean and look at which ones match Aaron's particular offers. And then we start to connect Aaron with people like Christina. We match with, let's see, let me get this to move faster. Sometimes Windows and Chrome fight each other on my system. Yep, there we go. Okay. So we also look at other criteria. So we look at affiliations, interests, and levels of authority are some of the other levels that we look at. So even though, for example, Mr. Harris, Jim Harris, is part of Timewell, that he's also an IBM InfoSphere instructor. Right. So his relationship to his organization plus his relationship to IBM both become factors in matching offers to Tim. So we would not, for example, forward Jim and Timewell to Insperity, because that would not necessarily make sense for Timewell. It may not. Right. But from an algorithm perspective, that would be called what's called an ambiguous match in our system, and we would have to do a second tier analysis to find out if Timewell is actually really just a part of IBM, or the independent organization that needs help with their HR services. And then you also see that he has some independent businesses, and he has a lot of other things going on. So he would actually be ranked quite differently than Christina would in our system for matching services, because he has sort of multi different variables in the system. He's also located, for example, in Canada, which will require other types of implementation, other cultural references. So, again, for like Insperity, that would not necessarily be potentially a great match. It may be a great match, but we don't know. And then we also know he's a speaker. He has an interest in the environment. He's an author. So, for example, we in the past have represented a car battery charger that works with electric cars. So we can find out, for example, if since Jim is into the environment, does he own an electric car? We could ask Jim that. That may be a better match out of all of the products and services that we have in our ecosystem that he could do. We also can find out, since he's a speaker, we can find out if he needs marketing services, right, or if he needs sales services. Those might be more appropriate for a person like Jim. He seems like an independent salesperson. So that's kind of how it works. So instead of me talking through all of that, there's actually a machine that does all of that in about 10 milliseconds. So here's another example. We have other criteria like occupational status. We look at email host providers. We look at if they live in more than one city, which some business people do because they travel. And then we find out, again, whether that's an interesting factor or a factor of interest to your particular offer. So that the algorithm can calculate a lot of different reasons and a lot of different metadata that would justify. So it's not just a one-dimensional interest metric or sentiment metric or brand awareness metric. There are lots and lots of KPIs that we're looking at in order to say, yes, this is a probable match. So when Data 360 does all that, we have about a 90% match rate, success rate. We use thousands of APIs. We have access to tens of thousands, so 20,000 plus all major companies for API access. And we look at those relative to the contact. So for example, if a contact has access to, say he's a chef and he works with certain farms, then we know we can access the API about that chef, and we can say, here's where he works with these suppliers, and these suppliers distribute these grocery stores, and those grocery stores are in these neighborhoods. And then we can start to make people aware that chef offers food from these areas, and can build a consumer base for him, and he can release a recipe book, and then he can sell that book. So that's what AI can actually really create markets for people, which are really, really interesting. So in the terms of the marketplace, we're really creating a whole host of opportunities to generate market in the stories around marketing, sales, and HR, because there's many different flavors. There's millions of flavors of marketing, thousands of flavors of sales, thousands of flavors of HR. And really differentiating and getting into the granularity of why an offer may or may not be appropriate. And that's what I love about my job is I get to help with market discovery. I get to help people discover what's possible for their businesses and help them reduce their costs and do all these really great things. So we put together actually a chart that kind of shows you, what market intelligence can look like, right? Because people have a lot of misnomers, mainly around even mainly around some old school stuff like keywords. We're talking to Google. Sorry, Miles. Where because keywords actually, the funny thing is Google's actually updated their ad program to include a lot of signals and indicators, and we're dealing with that program through our partners with Shopify. But in this space, we are also dealing with different signals or key indicators for country and source and platform and types of targets, interest and lifestyle. So those things people know, but they also don't know are some more complex signals, which are true natures of the market. So an example might be if you're in accounting, you probably think that QuickBooks is the #1 software program because you've been in accounting for 20 years, but actually, I believe not Zero, but Zoho Books is the #1 accounting software. And a lot of people who are not current with accounting don't know that. And that would be some of the things that would be the true nature of the market. So there are different things like that. And then we also do community and group detection. So we could go down to micro segments. So an example is we had a customer who was wanted to help benefit animals, and she had about 7 micro segments that fit her model. She had dog lovers. She had people who were animal activists. She had veterinarians and rescue. She had people who volunteered for animal nonprofits. They were all relevant segments to her market, and she needed to actually create separate marketing materials for those channels in order to activate them properly. So it turned out she wasn't structured that way. And so she had to figure out how to transition from kind of selling her product in one way to selling her product in multiple ways, if that makes sense. So in terms of the marketplace, Miles, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about kind of what the premise is, and then we can talk from a Data 360 standpoint. What is the premise of cloud commerce, and kind of give a background on cloud commerce?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. And Marie, there's a little bit of an echo in your end. Maybe mute while I'm speaking.
Okay. 1 second. There we go. Okay, I'm muting.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, thanks Marie for that intro. So cloud commerce, or I'm within the Google Cloud Commerce team, part of a platform and a product that's called Orbiterra. And Orbiterra was actually a startup that was acquired by Google a little over 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago. And the mission of our team within Google and within the industry really is to help remove friction from the sale of cloud-based products and services. So cloud-based products and services might be the cloud itself, like reselling infrastructure, like access to Google Cloud or one of the other major public clouds. It also includes selling products that run on the cloud, namely things like applications, SaaS applications, platforms or platforms as a service, as well as products that are hosted on the cloud that might feed into other processes, such as APIs, like Marie was referring to earlier. So the approach that we take within Google Cloud Commerce is to try to enable multi-tier partner connections, and also enable the easy sale and relatively frictionless sale of different kinds of products and services into white label marketplaces. And these white labeled marketplaces can host and list a variety of products and services that might be running on different platforms or infrastructure, that might be looking for different product niches or segments of the marketplace, and really centrally manage those product listings so that partners that need to expose their products can curate and define those products directly, and then also share those products into ecosystems to allow them to be discovered and procured more easily. So at the end of the day, that's what we're doing in partnership with Data 360, is we're trying to enable the Data 360 ecosystem and marketplace to list a host of various products and services that might have different monetization types and different end platforms on which they run, but that can plug into that value-added matching and other services that Data 360 has to enable products and services to be more easily discovered and procured. So hopefully that covers, Marie, what you were looking for from me, but I'm happy to go into that in any more depth or take it anywhere else that you'd like it.
Sure, thanks. So I think what I'll do is go into our unofficial guide to Google, just to kind of give some context. And then we'll go into the marketplace a little bit further, and then you can talk more about some of the kind of things that are required to participate in the marketplace. Okay, so let me share my screen again here. And then we'll go into the unofficial guide to Google, which we developed just because, like everything, there's everybody has their own perception. I just had a conversation actually earlier today with one of the city of LA officials, and they're like, she would start saying, Google, this is this and that and that and this and that. And so there's a lot of times where people understand, Google's a huge company. Data 360 is a much smaller company, but we interface with a lot of different components. So there's confusion on which parts we're talking about, right, versus parts you may have had experience with. So just to give you some context, we created some lovely graphics with one of our partners to put together kind of what is Google exactly. And so we have the Google infrastructure layer. And so we talk about that in terms of Google Cloud, which Orbitera and Google Cloud Commerce are a part of that. Google also has data centers and Google Fiber, amongst other things. Those are sort of the three well-known components. And then we have the platform layer. And the platform layer includes G Suite, which has many applications, Google Education, which also has some applications, Google VR, and then, again, there are many other ones, but those are kind of some of the three that Data 360 works with. And then there's the app layer, Orbitera being one of many apps, and that actually creates other apps. But of course, some of the ones this is the layer that most people are really famous. Google's really famous for, most people really know. The Google Sheets, Slides, Docs, Dreammaker, which is a VR headset, Gmail, Hangouts, Jamboard, which is a newer tool, Orbitera, Google Classroom, Cloud ML, Google Chrome, right? And again, thousands of others, right? So, there are many, many other components. So this component is through Orbitera or Google Cloud Commerce. And so it's a very specific app layer. But of course, if outside of this call you have questions about other layers, we also work with G Suite. We work with Google VR. We work with Education. We work with Cloud ML. And we work with Chrome starting next month. So if you have any questions about any of those other items, we're happy to answer about those too. They're different programs with different objectives. This is specifically, as Miles was talking about, is just about putting together the right tools for you to be able to sell through the cloud. And then we have the initiative layer, which is like marketing, right? So the two of the programs, Google Cloud Next, which is for the cloud platform, and then Google I/O, which is for developers. Those are two that we participate in. We're also in Chrome developers now, starting next month. And so those are different initiatives that focus on building communities around activating these products and services, either as partners or developers or participants. And then there's the research layer, which is Google Brain, X Company, which used to be called the Moonshot, Google Labs, and Sidewalk Labs, of which we have, I think, had conversation with everything except for X Company. So those are very different projects. So those are where we talk about more kind of academic subjects and do more research and talk about modeling and talk about different types of systems that can be built that eventually will become products. Or applications or platforms. And so the last part, which some people are familiar with, are the funding layer, which is Google Ventures in government and public affairs, which are all very different. And there's some initiatives that are kind of hybrids of those things. So, for example, Grow with Google is an initiative that's a hybrid of a few different parts of Google together. To provide gap education for entrepreneurs. So you may have heard of all these things. All these things are called Google, but they're all very, very different. So this one, again, is just focused around buying and selling through commerce. So instead of you going to eBay and Amazon or Salesforce to sell things, like Salesforce is more if you have a direct Salesforce, or eBay and Amazon is if you have physical products and services. You can actually sell digital items, things through the cloud. You can sell lots and lots of other things that don't really fit those marketplaces, and you can also develop your own marketplace and ecosystem over time. So that's the first part I want to go over. Miles, did I miss anything?
Nope, not as far as I can tell.
Okay, cool. Um, okay, so let's go into the last part, which I had on my screen earlier, but I thought we should probably provide some context. Let's just talk about a little bit about the marketplace directly and kind of what's involved in creating the marketplace. Um, so um, we have a couple different parts of what is required to make the marketplace happen that you'll both experience in join the marketplace, and you'll also participate in onboarding your own customers through the marketplace. So we have one single methodology to create kind of the data 360 in Google's infrastructure to make sure that we have the right fit for everything that happens. And we also validate a lot of the things that the AI and machine learning are bringing to the table. And you have a chance to provide that input back to us, right? Um, so our roadmap for everything. So as we're going through this process with you, we'll also do this digitally through Orbitera with you and your customers. So the first component we do in our roadmap is we do orientation, and that's when we turn applicants into users. And we provide a presentation, we provide a landing page, we provide a roadmap infographic. You see, you've experienced all these things. And then as that orientation happens, then we transition you into a user. So as you guys have already signed up or are signing up, you are now users, and then we're focused on onboarding you. So if you've already signed up with us, then we have sent you information we need to be able to turn you into a member and actually set up your part of the marketplace. And so during that process, you'll receive forms, you'll receive call to action, you'll receive some deadlines, you'll receive different things you need to do in order to do that. There's some onboarding that's required. Now, in the Orbitera piece, I don't know, Miles, if you want to talk a little bit about um, how kind of the onboarding works from a product perspective, because I know there are different bells and whistles, but you sort of summarize it better than I do.
Yeah. So the onboarding motion can take a bunch of different forms, and I think Marie, you and I can kind of define that process over time. But at a very high level, there's sort of there's a few common pieces that we need to have in order to onboard a product. And that can be done in either a self-service manner, or we as in ourselves in Data 360 can do that onboarding of the product on the partner's behalf, depending on how we want to operationalize this. But those key elements are sort of the user-facing information. So that's stuff like the description, video links, pictures, support links, things of that nature. Second, and thanks for bringing this slide up, Marie. Second, we need to define any of the automated elements that are necessary to fulfill this product order. And this is something that can even be optional, or something that can be layered in over time. So specifically, we have a framework where you can attach one or multiple REST API calls to one or multiple third-party systems or endpoints for each product. And we can take different kinds of user choice during the checkout process, during that front-end customer-facing content experience, and then send them into that endpoint to automate the delivery of that product or service. So for example, you might say that your product has an API that will create a new user and grant that user access to your product set. And you might have a provisioning or onboarding email workflow that you can trigger through that API. Well, what we would need is what that endpoint is and what needs to be sent into it, like that user email. And we can automate that process of granting the user a new account and kicking off that provisioning or onboarding email workflow through these automated elements. And then the other piece that needs to be defined is, how is this product priced? And what plans will you offer to users as they shop on this marketplace? So we can have one or many plans for each product, and those plans can be different features. It could be different number of licenses, and we can support either consumption-based products and services or subscription-based products and services, where subscriptions are, recurring charge, like monthly, quarterly, annually, at some level, and then consumption is more based off of what was actually consumed in that end product or service. For example, the number of API calls requested over a given billing period. One minor footnote on consumption-based pricing: if we do go that route, we will need to do a little bit of integration work in order to implement that, because we obviously need access to the usage data in order to actually understand how much was used over a given period. So those are the high-level elements that we need for each product that might be listed in this common marketplace. And there's a lot of other stuff that we can get into at a later date, but those are the sort of big rocks that we need to attack. Take it away, Marie.
Okay, cool. And then you want to address a little bit about the service base, how we can kind of do the gerbil embasement, where we can email them if somebody signed up and then give them instructions on what to do.
Sure. So so I alluded to this before, that automated element section of the deployment framework is somewhat optional, where, in a typical sort of crawl, walk, run evolution of a marketplace or a distribution strategy, you either might not yet have an API layer to automate the delivery of products and services, or you might not want to do that integration work until you've sort of validated that the marketplace is a source of activity. Whatever reason that might be, we do support that sort of crawl, walk, run journey. And the crawl is usually where a product initiates an order to a specific individual, or a distribution list, an email distribution list. And in that way, we can operationalize a product in a marketplace in less than an hour, because it's all a matter of just posting that user-facing content, defining the subscription price. We don't need that feedback into the underlying usage. And then we can kick off the order by notifying like an operations team or distribution list. So in that way, we can get products to market very, very quickly without having to define all of those automated elements. And then the nice thing about the platform is that once you are ready to walk or even run, we have APIs and hooks into the platform that you can leverage and layer on without having to rework all of that user-facing content. So a typical walk journey after you're crawling might be to layer in that automated ordering notification, where you have an API stood up to procure that product or service. And the run might then be where we automate the underlying billing notifications and things like that, and integrate your own backend systems against the Orbitura platform APIs to automate things like reconciliation and invoicing processes. So there's a lot of different automation levels that are available, and we can work with you and with Data 360 partners over time to allow you to take advantage of the different kinds of automation tools as you're ready to do so.
Switching between screen sharing and going off mute. Yeah, so the goal of this is to let you know that we're Data 360 and Google are both here to support you in getting to the marketplace and developing your own marketplaces and being a part of ours. You don't have to figure out all that technical stuff. We're here to do that for you. So as much or as little as you want to do, you're able to do. As ambitious as you want to be, you can be. Or you can just kind of start testing it and doing a little bit at a time. So we're open to all of that, and there's really no reason why you have to. In fact, in terms of Data 360, we really strongly encourage all of our partners and clients to crawl, walk, run, just because it can get very overwhelming, even with some basic implementations, just because of the data that's required and the things that are required to kind of be in a real-time universe where people can just buy from you at any time. I know some of you guys have sales forces. I know some of you guys already have e-commerce to some extent. The main difference between what you would build for yourself and what we typically build for you is that there's a lot more automation and there's a lot more just regular traffic flow, because because Data 360 has access to pretty much everybody on the internet. We can direct traffic wherever we want to, in whatever quantity we want to. So it's really the digital equivalent of just tapping someone on the shoulder. So we can do that all around the world if they have a public presence of any sort. We can do that. So being able to find people is not really the issue. um, the main issue is, are you ready to talk to that many people at the same time? And so we do encourage you to kind of see how the flow works, and also particularly how our Google Commerce onboarding works with your existing process, whether you have Salesforce or whether you do things by hand or you do things by email, or whether you have some other kind of system, or you have chatbots, or you have whatever. Our main focus is that we can actually close that loop for you so that you can handle the onboarding that's required to close them through the system. And then as we look to onboard you and close you, we just make you aware of all the different options. And then you can pick whether it's email, there are different signals that you want to process, or there are just full workflows. You can use that to close sales through the marketplace. So sometimes people will see your listing on the marketplace and they'll just buy right away. And those are the early adopters. And sometimes they'll need to actually be closed, and we'll look at emails and signals and workflows and kind of show you how to navigate those. Or if you have specific marketing people that need to be informed about how that works, and then validate the qualifications that we do for those who are in the marketplace loop on your page, then we can do that as well. And then if you have demand generation specialists, or if you have other just regular salespeople, we can address any of those audiences to be able to integrate with them so that you can see and manage activity that happens in the workplace, both on the onboarding stage and the close stage. And then on the delight stage, we actually focus on reviews and feedback. And I think that's something we haven't really talked about before, Miles. So I don't know if you want to go a little bit into like feedback and reviews, because I don't think we've talked about that before. What's possible?
Yeah, so in the current iteration, we do have sort of real estate for you to post reviews. The current framework is for these reviews to be curated by the product owner rather than open to all users to comment and leave different kinds of self-service reviews. But we can pretty easily operationalize a system that would incorporate different kinds of user reviews through like a separate message board or discussion or rating system. There's a few ways that we might go about that, Marie. So I'm happy to have a follow-up discussion, or we can think about it.
Yeah, I think one of the sessions after we set up a few of the products and services our own, and some of Google's and some of the partners on the pilot site, we can go over reviews more specifically. I think it'll be super relevant then. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to go, the last thing I want to go over is just in terms of uh, ISVs, and if you have affiliates and you have partners, other partners you want to invite to participate with you, there are abilities to create that. And I remember, Miles, in terms of, so that I think, we could talk about different options if you're interested in kind of going further with this. We have just kind of our overall marketplace creation steps, which look a lot like any other e-commerce, just built specifically for B2B. And then you can also set up your own affiliate stores and things like that. So those are more complicated things, but I'm wondering, Miles, if the last we could talk about kind of how this ecosystem, the design and deploy front end, applies to, like, you're talking about price books and some of the other concepts of how do you then, like, if you want to distribute this to other countries, or if you guys want to set up an affiliate network through us for something else with the same products and services, kind of how that would work, how you scale out with Orbiterra. I think that's a good point to start to finish on today.
Yeah, sure. So I'll speak to this for a couple minutes in terms of the potential frameworks that we can accommodate. And again, Orbiterra, or the Google Cloud Commerce Platform, is very much a platform. So we don't define how you need to go to market or what your catalogs or marketplaces might be. You can have one marketplace, or you can have many and storefronts. The approach that we take is, once you've defined these, 3 high-level steps that Marie is showing on the slide right here, define your customer-facing content, any automation, and the billing rules for that product. We can take that product and publish it on one marketplace, or we can take it and publish it on many marketplaces. And each marketplace or partner in this ecosystem has the power to either create their own white label, self-branded marketplace, which can be embedded in your own domain space, like catalog.domain.com. Or you can have many end catalogs. So in this way, we could have a catalog that's specific for a particular market. So for example, a America marketplace, a Canada marketplace, and a Mexico marketplace, each of which might have pricing specific to that market, but that inherits a lot of the automation and the user-facing content from that primary product publisher. Another way that we can go to market in that way, rather than splitting up catalogs according to geography, is you can split up catalogs according to market or customer type, or a particular niche or industry. So in that way, you can have one product listing, but publish it on a marketplace that's catered to, for example, advertising professionals, another one that's catered to engineers, and a third that's catered to more, business-focused salespeople. And in that way, it's a scalable ecosystem where you define your product once, you update that product in one place, and then you can publish it for it to be discovered and procured in potentially many end marketplaces without having to redo all of that work. So that's some of the potential capabilities that we can bring to bear. Ultimately, the number of catalogs, the number of marketplaces, and how you bring these things to market are up to you all, both sort of Data 360 as well as Data 360's partners. And I think one thing that we're interested to explore and understand better is, what are these end venues that are most attractive to all of you and to reach your different potential customer bases. I hope that hit the notes that you were looking for, Marie.
Yes, that was great. So, yeah, so the point is, that we're looking at this with you so that you don't think it's kind of a fly by night exercise. There are lots and lots of different options that can help you grow throughout the globe. We also have a payment system that can pay out in 190 countries. So if you do decide to set up affiliates or other sales people through our marketplace or other marketplaces within the marketplaces and so on and so forth, we have the ability to also manage the payouts for that in a lot of countries, in a lot of different places. So you can feel assured. And we probably will have a guest spot with Tapali, who manages that, on one of our calls, so that you can understand kind of how the payouts work and how the affiliates work. But we love it because it's such a huge opportunity for all of us to explore a lot of different markets and have a lot of different pieces fall into place together. So I want to just open up the floor to questions. If anyone on the line has questions, either Aaron or I see Christine join. Hi, Christine. Um, if anyone has any questions, just on behalf of yourselves or just, in general, because it's always helpful to anyone who watches a recording.
I'll just jump in. I have a couple questions. So this is the second call. Is that first call available to listen to somewhere?
Yeah, it's on the marketplace landing page. We'll send it to you again as well.
Okay. And then I'm kind of behind a little bit, so I know there's a deadline of the 25th to do the customer journey, and then it looks like I need to create a product listing. Those look like the two first things to do.
Yes, that's
to get
correct.
moving.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two main things. And then, the first call we did with Miles and the team is on, and some different partners is on the marketplace landing page. You can just kind of scroll down. You'll see a little YouTube video, and that talks a little bit. And then you kind of see, there are different kinds of partners. I think we had all of 50, 60 some odd people that are on the list for the marketplace. So there's quite a big list. Hundreds are being added to the marketplace screening process. So, we will always try to post as much as possible so that you can understand kind of where things are and how to put the pieces together for this program. Of course, Data 360 manages lots of different programs. So, please, the Google group is a great reference point for what's happening, as well as any official correspondence we have to onboard you if you're already onboarded into the marketplace or you started the process. Any other questions, Christine, since you're here? Oh. Okay. Well, we're at 1:00, so thanks everyone for joining. And we really look forward to working with you and sharing more with you. And for those of you who didn't make it to the call, we can accept any questions or any feedback you have at support@data360.solutions. And our team will create a ticket and make sure you get answered and make sure we help you as much as possible. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Miles. Thanks, Ben, for joining us. And we look forward to talking with you soon.
Thanks, Marie. Thanks, Miles.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.